Greetings and welcome to Rice Crypto. I'm Rice, and today we're going to be talking all about PyreSwap. PyreSwap is a GameFi DEX that is starting off using 3 blockchains, Avalanche, Fantom, and Binance Smart Chain, that is building the first decentralized credit union, and it has its Genesis launch taking place June the 15th. Today, I am joined by PyreSwap founder Phil so that we can learn more about the project as well as the launch that is about to take place. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me on today's episode of the Rice Crypto Show as a first-time guest, but somebody who I've known in the space for several years. Today, I am joined by Phil. He is the founder of PyreSwap. Phil, thanks for joining me on the show today, man. How you doing?
Doing great, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, and I'm definitely looking forward to learning about this project. I want to let people know that we are recording this on Thursday the 13th. I'm releasing this on the 14th tomorrow, Friday, June 14th. Because the Genesis launch for PyreSwap is going to be taking place Saturday, June the 15th. We'll talk all about that. We'll talk about what PyreSwap is. But before that, do you mind, Phil, kind of giving a little introduction of who you are and how long you've been in the crypto space, how you got involved, and then we'll get into what PyreSwap is?
100%. So my name is Phil Mirzaglaki, aka Phithe, because my last name is so hard to pronounce. And I'm a founder of PyreSwap. PyreSwap superficially is a GameFi DEX, but artificially, it is the world's first decentralized credit union. I invented this based on the fact that I got into crypto probably around 2014 because I always was an aficionado of exotic and bizarre economics. And when I saw that there were certain components of things missing in Web3, I realized that there was something ingenious that could be built based on the banking styles before the Federal Reserve. So I'm specifically referring to the free banking era between 1828 and 1865. But PyreSwap is a surrogate of the way banking was done properly before central banking.
Okay. Yeah, this is in between the, and I'm drawing a blank on the name for whatever reason, but the second central bank was taken out by Andrew Jackson.
Yep.
And so it would be in between that time period and 1913 with the creation of the Federal Reserve, kind of the wild west of finances. Yeah, it's crazy because there was local currencies, local bank currencies. It was a very interesting time, and it's pretty interesting how you're comparing it to that. So I'm definitely looking forward to learning more about this, man.
Yeah, no, if you actually if you look at the historics of that era, they had a lot of parallels with the Web3 climate today. Like, it's almost like human nature hasn't changed, but like a lot of the stuff that kind of gets ideated, it's a lot of the stuff that fails. It's a lot of the stuff that was failing back then too. But believe it or not, there was a lot of stuff that was working back then, and PyreSwap is designed from those blueprints.
That's pretty cool, man. And I like this idea of everything that I've seen so far, of like kind of doing a little bit of research about the fact that this is not just a normal DEX. It's an automated market maker plus a DEX. You said a GameFi DEX. You guys are going to be integrating its own ecosystem of decentralized apps. The GPSC, the Greater PyreSwap ecosystem. I mean, this is pretty in depth. And then talking about the fact that you guys are trying to create the first decentralized credit union. And I see that you guys are also using 3 chains. So we have a DEX here, an AMM, and 3 different chains, that being Fantom, Avalanche, and Binance Smart Chain. I'm going to have links down below for everything that we're talking about on today's show. At the bottom of the website, pyreswap.com, you guys can actually find links for not only the X, but the Discord, Telegram. I believe this is GitHub. So be sure to check out the links that are down below at the very bottom of the website. I guess we can go ahead and start with what exactly is PyreSwap? Like, when you try to give the elevator pitch to people about this project, because it's very in depth, obviously.
Right.
But when you try to just give an introduction elevator pitch to what it is, how do you introduce PyreSwap to others?
So I say it is the world's first decentralized credit union, which obviously gets me some stare. But what the point that I'm getting at is that this is a DApp that is economically robust enough to complete a blockchain use case all by itself. So something I say commonly is that to build a blockchain is an engineering problem, but to fulfill a blockchain's use case is an economics problem. PyreSwap has 6 different ways to make money in the first phase of its roadmap. And it's from the principle of like economic variation and kind of like the diversity of actors that it kind of becomes its own self-sustaining crypto economy. So this has a crypto market within the crypto market, if that makes sense. It is arguably the most tokenomically sophisticated dApp that I've probably ever heard of, because we have over 30 different tokens in our ecosystem. But banking used to be a multi-instrument system back when things like gold and silver were involved in collateral, and we kind of use those same principles, but tokenomically, to kind of recreate those same systems. This allows the user base to engage in banking like on their own. Like, and I don't mean just like storing stuff for safekeeping. I mean like the actual like fractional reserve lending or like extension of credit. Like these are, PyreSwap allows for that to happen on the blockchain. It allows for credit rating systems and stuff like that. We have a very long roadmap. It's probably going to take over a year to get to phase 5. And this product is designed for like long-term sustainability. And most importantly, it's designed to not be boring. This is a project that can make the claim that red candlesticks cannot kill it. I think a lot of projects in crypto, they get a bunch of red candlesticks and they lose steam and the project dies because they don't have any type of economic sophistication. PyreSwap has all that internally, so red candlesticks cannot kill it. We've been beta testing this now since December or so, and we've tried to kill it. So anybody is welcome to try to, scare our price charts, but our price charts don't care. And that's due to the fact that we give a lot of these tokens financial instrument value based on those 6 opportunities in the diagram just above. We create 6 different ways for the user base to make money in the first phase of its roadmap. And I think that's probably our most significant feature and biggest strength.
Is this what you were talking about, this part of the website?
The one actually right above this.
Right above this. Okay. I just want to make sure I was in the right spot.
Yep.
This right here.
Yeah.
Is this also in one of the document?
It is. Yeah. In our
links?
documentation. Okay. Yeah. You can click on it there and I think it will pop up, like zoom in on you.
Nice.
But yeah, effectively, these are 6 different ways that somebody can make money inside the greater PyreSwap ecosystem. So that is a lot more due to the variability of this. It allows for a economy to kind of develop in the surrogate, for lack of a better way. And additionally, because of the way that we kind of build financial instruments and kind of embed them inside tokens, we're also allowed to create fundamental analysis on for actual investment, which is arguably not seen very much in crypto. Let's be honest. Technical analysis seems to be the domination, but in real markets, fundamental analysis is considered to be the senior discipline. At least that's what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely sounds very in-depth. Now, I'm assuming that once the launch is taking place, it'll be tomorrow when I put this video out. So the launch will be taking place tomorrow, the 15th of June. How much of the ecosystem is actually going to be available upon launch?
All of those 6 things are available right now because that's just phase 1. In fact, in later phases of the roadmap, we will have more opportunity.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, do you want to go through any of these, this particular diagram that we're looking at? Do you want to go over any of the things that we're seeing here?
Yep. I can actually talk about Genesis. And the fact of the matter is our Genesis contract goes for 90 days. And our Genesis contract is also the highest emission rate out of all Genesis contracts ever like deployed in Web3. And the reason we're able to kind of sustain that is because our tokenomics have the ability to survive red candles. Let's put it that way. When the prices of our tokens go down, the reasons to buy them go up because we embed financial instruments inside the tokens that become more profitable based on the price going down. So this effectively creates support on our price charts. The second thing I could talk about is the incantation, which is the real like invention going on here, because we invented 2 things. We invented active staking, which is effectively a paradigm split from passive staking. So if you scroll down to the bottom of this page right here, I think it's the fifth diagram. Yeah. If you scroll down here to the bottom on the landing page.
Right here.
Yeah, you'll see right there, active staking. Yeah. So if you hear passive staking versus active staking, all of staking so far has been passive staking. It's basically like you lock up tokens for weeks, months, or years, or you at least do it for days. Whether you're doing on a DEX, whether you're delegating tokens to like a proof of stake chain, something like this, it's a passive staking where you lock tokens up and you wait. We create active staking. And active staking is a position where you stake that you don't want to go to sleep on. like you need to get out of that position like that same day. You cannot risk having that position overnight, if that effectively. Active staking is kind of like high adrenaline staking. And we create active staking through the invention of something called a negative yield instrument. Negative yield increases the risk around staking, which effectively increases the reward that you can reap from the incantation witch vault, which is the mechanism we use to distribute DEX feed. I hope I didn't.
No, I totally understand.
Yeah. So that is, so active staking is like the paradigm shift that we're bringing to DeFi. We consider ourselves an evolutionary milestone in DeFi, which should be the evolution of banking, in my opinion. And it allows for investments to be sustainable, but also still exciting, which effectively I think is something that Web3 misses, right? I think that when they're exciting, they're not sustainable, or when they're sustainable, they're not exciring. I think that we have the best of both worlds there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, so additionally, that's our PyreSwap is designed to be a DEX that isn't boring, and therefore that is like one of the main things that we drive attention to in phase 1. And that right there on the right is a strategy tree to help people make decisions. Now, all of those decisions right there, that could be a 90-second period of time. So in our Discord, 6 times a week, I have been doing AMAs where I screen share how to actually play the incantation. And I play with about $5 or less just to show people demo money. And it's to kind of teach people how active staking works. And I've successfully taught a few dozen people. And during Genesis, I intend to teach a few hundred. And I think from here on, that is now an evolutionary branch of DeFi.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this thing operates once everything launches. I mean, it seems very intricate. It definitely seems exciting. It definitely seems not like your normal DEX. So that's cool because, I mean, obviously when people put out DEXs, it just seems like just a version of something else used on a different chain, something to that
like
effect.
This. Yeah, like this motion with my hand right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I call those Walmart DEXs because like they're all just trying to compete on like minimizing friction or something, or like somehow undercutting the other guy by like 5%. You know what I mean? And it's like, we're just going to keep focusing on trying to get as lean and mean in this model, but they don't really offer anything special. So PyreSwap is a DEX in its infrastructure, but I like to think of it as a specialty DEX as opposed to like a general DEX. Like I'm not necessarily trying to compete with other DEXs because we have our own value add that isn't necessarily what the other mainstream DEXs are trying to do.
So when this thing was being created, because I know this thing has been kind of a process, why right now are you launching with 3 chains instead of just kind of simplifying it with 1? And then I guess, is there going to be more chains added in the future?
100%. So we actually built this project to reverse the losses of a lot of projects that collapsed on those 3 chains. So we spent, the Century Circus, we spent 2022 and a little bit of 2023 acquiring projects on those 3 chains. And I was trying to prove a point because, like I said before, I'm a obsessed hobbyist when it comes to exotic economics. And I developed in 2022 a solution that could effectively take projects that were falling on their faces and actually make them sustainable, like banking dApps. And I needed to prove that I could do this with such effectiveness that I could solve this problem for multiple apps at the same time. So this is just about being as big of a bet as possible because we've been beta testing now since December, and I have only seen proof that I was correct. So I'm not scared to launch on 3 chains because we've effectively acquired on 3 chains. The good news is that it's effectively we're basically just a clone of the same thing on 3 chains. So like, is it a little bit hectic to watch all 3? Yes, but at the same time, it's not necessarily like a management. Yeah, it's arguably like all the fundamentals are the same. So if you understand it on one chain, you can understand on the other.
I was trying to actually unconnect my wallet, and I was having a little bit of a technical issue as far as doing it. I know you can't see the pop-up, but it's like as soon as you press disconnect, there's like right underneath of it, the connect for like the wallet connect. So it automatically is like clicking on that once it exits out, because I know you can't see the pop-up that comes up on the screen.
Yeah, try changing the network first from something that's not Ethereum. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Try to jump to like Avalanche or something. Maybe
can you see this on screen by chance?
I can see the selected network box. Yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure the pop-up came up because some pop-ups don't. Some it just depends on the way I screen share it. So this is for people who are watching. this is how you would switch between the chains, between Fantom, Avalanche, and Binance Smart Chain.
Yep.
I'm not sure which one I was on, and I should be signed into my MetaMask. So I just need to approve everything, switch over networks. And now I'm signed into the Avalanche network.
Yep. So if you go to, this is like a standard swap interface. Yeah, we will effectively in later phases have it be more proprietary, but for right now, it's effectively this, like a default one. If you go and look at the top, the mead, the farm, and the stake sections are the stuff that's most unique. So when we have meeting right here, this is arguably, this is a word that I had to come up with because it means recompense in like old English. But what a meet is effectively a convertibility option on a token. So like a convertibility option in like in finance and markets, you've heard like a lease to own agreement in real estate.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's a convertibility option. Like, oh, hey, this is a lease agreement, but you can convert it into an own contract, right? So we effectively, through these tokens, Frozen Tomb and Snow Tomb, through this interface, we allow that token to actually begin having utility value and even financial instrument value by embedding it with a convertibility option. And what that does is you burn Frozen Tomb to mint PyreAVAX. The way that PyreAVAX comes into existence is from burning these other tokens, which effectively are like it's upstream, for lack of a better way. This right here is its own instrument, and you can effectively arbitrage after meeting, which is a word we use called metatrage, and that can in fact be profitable.
So, I mean, is this kind of like a swap feature in a sense, but just internal?
Well, it's not a swap because we are in fact burning a token and minting another one. Yeah.
Okay.
But to the user, it can seem like a swap for sure. But,
or almost like a bridge in a sense. But I get what you're saying. You have to burn one in order to create and mint the other. So, but that's very interesting.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and if you go to the farm page, you can see the countdown timer, which will be to when the Genesis event begins. So like anybody who's interested in knowing this, they can go to pyreswap.finance/farm, and that right there, that countdown timer is in real time, and it will be calibrated to whatever time zone they're in.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this out exactly 24 hours after we started recording, which is 3:00 p.m. Eastern time. So that way, when people see this timer, it's actually 24 hours less than what the timer actually said. I don't want people to get confused because I'm trying to remind people we're recording this on Thursday, June 13th, releasing the video on June 14th, Friday, because the Genesis launch is taking place Saturday, June the 15th. Just got to keep reiterating that.
Yep. I'll just, I can mention that as many times as possible. The next page right there is the stake page, which is a bit unique, up there in the header. And this right here is an interface that's, I guess you would say, it's proprietary. But if you look below, we have this incantation witch vault, which is in fact a staking contract, but is an active staking contract. So the first thing we had to do is we had to put a gigantic orange warning label right below there. If you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see a gigantic orange warning label. It says danger. Yeah, this is a witch vault. Read documentation fully. I know a lot of people prefer to learn from videos, which is fine because, you know, I'm making videos as well about this. But the fact of the matter is the way this works, you'll see up in the header, there's an epoch counter right now. Like right now it's zeroed out, but that must mean that it's lapsed. Most of the time during normal operations, you will have a countdown timer happening. All of the rewards, all of the yield is in fact distributed in an instant when the epoch rolls over. So the way you in fact scalp yield from this is you want to stake like in the last minute, and then you want to unstake in the first minute. Because the way that this token, the way that the risk versus reward profile of this tokenomic works, for 1 second, it's the highest real yield token on Avalanche, on Binance, and on Fantom. It's the highest real yield token sustainably on that chain, no matter what. But for the next 5 hours and 59 minutes, it's nothing. It doesn't have any use case. Does that make sense? So therefore, if you look on the price chart, we have something called a velvet rope pattern. And the velvet rope pattern is what allows there to be fundamental analysis in the trading of these tokens.
Where is that right here? Where it says price?
Oh, literally on an actual chart. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I thought you were talking about on the website referring to something. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep up with what you're talking about. My bad.
No. And these indications do matter for learning how to play the game effectively, which might be a little bit beyond the scope of this video. But yeah, all of these indications here are to help the user plan strategy and assess the risk of capturing yield from this mechanism.
Okay. Yeah, real quick, man. What I really wanted to do, like I was telling you before we started recording, was just kind of give people a really brief overview of what the project's about, the launch, so we can get some attention being brought to it. And then I think based off just listening to you about this, we definitely need to do like some follow-ups that are a little bit more in depth for the people that want that information, as far as like diving in deeper and explaining these things, because I'd like to understand the incantation, witch vault, but obviously, like you're saying, there's a lot of intricacies to it that it probably would take away from what we're going to be talking about today. But it is a pretty unique feature, man, and I'm definitely looking forward to not only launch, but just playing with everything, testing it out and just seeing how everything works. I really like the idea of the first decentralized credit union. Can you kind of expound a little bit more on that idea?
Yep, 100%. So
I think, and the reason I'm asking real quick is because, you know, we're seeing all these cracks in the banking system that started about early 22. Is that right? Because I mean, time is so crazy in the crypto space, man. I don't even know what day and year it is anymore. I do, obviously. I just told everybody what the date was, but you get what I'm saying.
100%. 100%.
We definitely need alternatives with the way the banking system is right now. So having a decentralized credit union, I think, is a kick-ass idea.
Thank you so much. And I will expand on that. And actually, there's a diagram that we can go to in the docs, which is the better thing to look at. So first of all, this is a decentralized credit union, but it is not necessarily like a retail bank where people, you know, deposit dollars and have checking and savings. Does that make sense? Those are called in banking, those are called like demand deposit accounts. And we don't do that, right? We in fact completely ignore right there, tokenomic life cycles. We'll use that one. We kind of completely ignore the dollar in all of our tokenomics, which is something that we're trying to do in order to make this the best dApp for crypto winter, because we don't reference the dollar at all. Like you never see the dollar reference. I mean, it shows up in like APR and stuff like that, or TBLs. But generally speaking, I think that a lot of the crypto space, it gets too focused on using the dollar as a point of reference. And it becomes like this emotional roller coaster, because you look at the volatility compared to the dollar and you kind of get infatuated on like how you're compared to the dollar, which isn't hard, right? But the fact of the matter is we try to keep the entire economy like one step away from the dollar. So you're only looking at other tokens in the economy as far as your benchmark. So right here, if we were looking at these life cycles, on the far right, you have something called a share token. So on Fantom Opera, we have 2Share, 3Share, and Z-Share. 2Share is probably the most famous share token in this. 2Share is a share token for a seigniorage dApp, a seigniorage protocol, as they were called, or a fork of Tomb Finance. And something I noticed in 2022, which a lot of other people didn't see, was that this two-instrument system was the best surrogate for a, I'm not going to say traditional banking, but more like a paleo type of banking, where you had to back your reserves with gold, right? So like pre-fiat type of bank. This was a two-instrument system where you had one instrument that kind of controlled the amount of circulation for the what you could consider the banknote token. So to the left of it, you'll see there's a token called 2Ohm next to 2Share. And 2Ohm is like the elastic supply token that is issued and emitted via 2Share. And that effectively is a similar relationship to the way that banks back in the day had to effectively mitigate this ratio, mitigate, monitor, and manage a ratio of what they had in specie reserves versus how much they had in circulating note supply, right? So effectively speaking, as these products were launched in 2022, nobody was really viewing them the way I was. So these products collapsed on their face. 2Ohm was worth $500 million at one point, but like definitely not when I acquired it, because these products all kind of like they soared and then they crashed. And then when they were on the floor, that's when I acquired. The thing that these products were missing is they were missing a way to reduce the amount of debt in circulation. Does that make sense? And there was no real utility to the debt node token known as the PEG token. So those tokens would basically hyperinflate to the floor and then nobody would ever touch it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I noticed that most of the people in Web3 were analyzing this stuff kind of from an engineering perspective as opposed to an economics perspective. And they focused on kind of fixing price, where I decided we should fix demand and let demand kind of lead price. So we created new purposes for the tokens that were debt. And that purpose is, in fact, the Mead screen, which you looked at before. When we in fact burn those tokens to mint the other one, we're actually reclassifying and consolidating debt. So if you look on that diagram we're just looking at, you saw where those three tokens kind of like fork into one, not fork, but I guess merge into one. That is in fact a debt consolidation utility.
That's
right there.
This token right here.
Yep. So that is in fact a debt consolidation token, but that's a token. It has another paradigm, which is the one that gets used in active staking. When it gets used in active staking, if you stake it, like let's say you have 10 Pyre Phantom and you stake it, and then I stake 10 Pyre Phantom after you, you get 0.1% of your staked supply burned. So effectively speaking, you don't want to hang out there too long because people staking in behind you will end up smoldering your position, which is a small incremental burn. And it's from us doing these small incremental burns over time that we create the supply sink for the rest of the tokens in the ecosystem. And therefore, we're slowly consolidating debt and kind of discharging it like bankruptcy. I know that's a lot of banking lingo I just dropped in like 2 minutes. But
yeah, no, but it's, I mean, and I may have to go back after and re-listen to some of this because it's very in depth, man. It's it's awesome though that you have so much going on with this project.
So the share tokens, back in the day when they were first building credit associations, they would have this this note. It was called a bond of association, or it was called a common bond. And before credit unions were collateralized, they would use this common bond as kind of like a security to kind of first create the risk mechanisms for a credit union to first start issuing and establishing credit. So we address it the same way. All of the holders of 2Share are in a credit association with each other, whether they realize it or not. The ones that effectively do better are the ones who are kind of managing the credit the best. Does that make sense? So actors who are kind of not creditworthy will kind of end up shaking themselves out of their own position. And it's kind of, that's a little bit complex, but this is a crypto ecosystem that actually rewards people thinking long-term, thinking patiently, and thinking, thinking about, actually continuing to compound and build their, their underlying portfolio. Because we have these, when 2 is issued from a boardroom, which is where 2Share gets staked, it effectively is minting it new. And as it's minting new, that token is really considered credit right there. As soon as that token is sold, it's now debt. But you don't have to sell it. You can also deploy it in liquidity against another credit token. And if those tokens are getting deployed in liquidity against each other, you're basically engaging in a fractional reserve lending, because you're now able to continue to kind of build your money horizontally without actually needing new capital to come in from outside. Does that make sense? So this is actually a DApp that's capable of generating its own valuation based on the actual skills of the investors, or should I say the user base inside it. So this project does require me to do a lot of education and evangelization because there really hasn't been anything like it. But yes, that's 100% how it works. I am trying to rescue the degen from himself and evolve him into a crypto banker and not just a crypto gambler, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of crypto gamblers out there, man. I think that's what most of crypto right now is all about, unfortunately.
It is what it is. There's always risk, right?
I like the fact that you're trying to flip the switch though and do something different with that. Yep. I do want to let people know, because as you were talking, I kind of figured out too that right on the actual application site. So if you guys were going from PyreSwap.com at the very top and you launch the application, it'll take you to this page. And if you click up here at the top of where it says docs, that will take you to the documentation that we were just sharing with that diagram. I'll have the links down below for those as well, the document page, so you guys can check that out because I always encourage people to do a deeper dive, because obviously we're just touching on the surface, I believe, of the project. And there's a lot to even just kind of grasp when it comes to that aspect of this. So I'm definitely looking forward to, like I said, messing around with the entire ecosystem and seeing how this works, bringing you back on and learning more. I think this might be a good point for us to get ready to wrap up. Was there anything else that you wanted to highlight about the project before we wrap this up and re-mention the fact that Genesis launch will be taking place Saturday, June 15th. And at the bottom of PyreSwap.com, you can find links so you can stay updated for the X account, over for Discord, for Telegram. So be sure to check those out, and you can click on it directly right here on the website as well.
Red candlesticks cannot kill any token in the greater PyreSwap ecosystem. So I'll just say that right there. Yeah, our biggest bragging point, red candlesticks cannot kill it. This is an actual economy, not just a Ponzi scheme. Let's put it that way.
Can you quickly explain that?
Yeah. So effectively, since the tokens on the Mead page, they basically have a utility that is their another financial instrument. Does that make sense? So what that means is it's not just like buying and selling for profit. Rather, there's things you can do with this token that also make money. Does that make sense? So yes, when you Mead, you can Mead profitably, depending if your token goes down in value. if that token goes down in value, meeting in fact becomes more profit. So since there is a profit upside to the token going down in price, this ends up being support on the price chart and the user base handles itself. Does that make sense? So if somebody sells, another person is ready to buy. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
For the other token, which would be Pyre Fantom, which is kind of like the other side of the scale, that token is effectively shielded from meeting when it goes down in price. And what that means is because that token is, again, the highest real yield capturing token on Fantom, Avalanche, and Binance, it will end up getting bought probably within 6 hours because the people who are able to snatch it up at the lowest price are effectively getting the most profit when the incantations are distributed. So like within about 12 hours, yeah, we'll be fine. So like any red candle that shows up pretty much gets erased, or I guess brought back to the economy gets brought back to stability probably within about 12 hours of any red candle. It just finds a new equilibrium and then just continues marching from there.
So one, I encourage people to follow you guys on X so you can keep up with all the actual updates, what's happening, the specific time frame for the launch on Saturday. As far as Telegram and Discord, are either one more active? Because it sounds like Discord. I was gonna say it sounded like Discord based off what you were saying.
Yeah, I think Discord has a little bit more features that are kind of needed to do the education and stuff that this project requires. Effectively, this is not a run of the mill DApp. This is in fact an evolutionary milestone, and I insist on saying that. So there, Satoshi Nakamoto had to spend a lot of time evangelizing and teaching, and I probably have it a lot easier than him, but I think Discord is a better social media to do that with, and therefore I've just kind of been using Discord now for like 2 years pretty effectively. So I would recommend people join the Discord because they can learn about the project directly from the other community members, right? They don't have to hear from me, but they can also attend my AMAs where I do screen sharing and I teach people how to do these things right on camera. They can watch me, the founder, exercise these things and effectively make profit with them. I only play with like $5, but it scales. So our genesis is June 15th. Again, I'll say that again. And it is the most like lucrative emission schedule over 90 days that's ever been deployed. So the reason we're doing that is again because red candles can't hurt us, and we have the tokenomics for it. We have the economic robustness.
Nice. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to everything, man. I was going to ask or let people know one other thing that I'm just going to share with people that I had discovered, because if people don't like the font that's being used on the PyreSwap.finance interface, you can actually change the font here over in the right hand corner. I have to ask you because people might be wondering, what was the deal with the choice for the font that you use? Because that was one of the first things I had asked you when you shared some information about the project.
I'll tell you this, that I would say about 10% of people do have a distaste for that font Allegard, but I find that they get over it. I find that they eventually just adjust to it. They're like, okay, I can read it now, because they get used to it like somebody's handwriting. Well, we looked at 24 different fonts for this DEX. Actually, we looked at 24 different fonts, and this is actually the best one that seems legible and also kind of fits the theme of like a fantasy fiction type of GameFi. And we do get certain complaints about it, but I think that quadrant seems to be a font that I think alleviates that particular group of people who dislike Allegard. Yeah, it's just a little bit skinnier, a little bit more spaced out.
Yeah, and I mean, I had to ask because I figure somebody watching this is going to be like me and notice it and just notice that it's very, very different compared to what you see on other websites, which automatically just throws me off.
Yeah, I know.
So it's not a bad thing. I just wanted to ask the question.
For sure. We did want to differentiate ourselves a lot. So we have a lot of background art for the idea of storytelling. The reason we're a GameFi DEX, by the way, is because I have learned that it's easier to talk to people and teach people about banking using like storytelling allegories. So when I was originally designing this, it did not have this GameFi fantasy fiction aesthetic, but we're leaning into it and it's only working for us. So we're probably going to keep leaning into it because I think it just makes it more exciting, and the economics of the system work in such a way that I think makes for sustainable GameFi.
Awesome, man. Well, like I said, I definitely think that we need to do some follow-ups and kind of deep dive in some of these areas where we can kind of explain a little bit more, get a little bit more full comprehension of how these things exactly work. I think that would be good for everybody as well. So people who are watching, let me know what you think in the comment section. Again, the launch is going to be taking place. This is coming out. By the time you're watching this, it'll be Friday the 14th, which means The very next day, the 15th of June, will be the Genesis launch of PyreSwap. Again, links are going to be down below for everything we talked about on today's show. Phil, before we wrap up, again, I always give everybody a chance. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up today's conversation?
DeFi is the future.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, man. Well, just bear with me 1 second. Let me do the wrap up and stop recording. Again, ladies and gentlemen, links will be down below. Appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you take an opportunity to smash that like button. I definitely would encourage you to do so. I'll also include a link for the seniorage. That's such a hard word. Seniorage Circus, the YouTube channel, which has a long version and a short version of the origin story that I would encourage you guys to check out. And I'm sure there'll be future videos coming out about PyreSwap over on that YouTube channel. So I'll have that link down below. Subscribe to that channel, this channel. And again, I encourage everybody as always to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in this matrix. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Question everything. Know yourself. And until next time, practice change.